struggling to write that novel you've always dreamed of, chances are you might be making a critical mistake before you even start. It's one of the most common bucket list items to write and publish a novel, but a lot of people give up before they complete their novel because they start in the wrong place. They start by thinking about the characters or what happens, aka the plot. Sometimes they start with the setting. But if you want to write a novel that works, you have to begin with the genre. You see, the key to crafting a captivating story lies not just in your characters or your plot twists, but in something even more fundamental: the genre. Genre is the fundamental element of writing and, more importantly, completing a novel, because it provides the conventions and obligatory moments that your readers are not only going to expect, but they're going to require in order to keep their attention and keep them turning the page. Knowing your genre provides clarity about exactly what kind of story you are writing. I'm Maureen Wiley. I'm a professor of composition with over 10 years of experience teaching writing classes, and I'm also a writer working on my own novel of historical fiction. If you like videos about the art of storytelling and you want to write a novel along with me, then click that subscribe button below. In this video, I'm going to share an overview of the classic genres, including the conventions and obligatory moments that are going to hook your readers and keep them reading. Special shout out to the book The Story Grid by Shawn Coyne, which first introduced me to the importance of genre as the first step to writing a novel that people actually want to read. Because the thing is, readers start with genre, and so should you if you want to write a story that works. Even if you don't like to plot out your novel too much before writing, or you think that sticking to genre conventions will make your novel formulaic, at some point in the writing process, a genre's conventions and obligatory moments can be a lifeline to help you break through writer's block. It's a compass that guides your writing journey. Genre isn't just a marketing tool or a box to tick. It's a powerful tool that shapes your story's identity, influences its tone, and builds expectations for your audience. First up, we've got a very popular category in the realm of action, and that is the thriller/mystery.
The traditional conventions of the thriller/mystery genre include a central mystery or suspenseful plot, an investigative protagonist, or even a professional detective. A MacGuffin, which is a term that refers to the villain's object of desire, which is often stated in the novel directly by the villain.
Mr. Takagi, I'm really not interested in your computer. But I need the code key because I am interested in the $640 million in negotiable bearer bonds that you have locked in your vault. And the computer controls the vault.
In mysteries, there are often clues, there are often red herrings, which refers to a misleading clue or a plot element that's used to divert attention from the true direction of the story. The obligatory scenes of the thriller/mystery include the introduction of the mystery of the crime. That often is the inciting incident that involves some kind of crime, sometimes even a murder. There has to be scenes of the investigation and the gathering of evidence. These types of novels often include plot twists and revelations. There's always a climax where the mystery is solved or the villain is caught, and there's always a resolution that ties up loose ends. And in these kinds of stories, there's often a personal connection between the villain and the protagonist.
The value at stake in these kinds of stories is pretty obvious. It's life versus death. Next up, a perennially popular genre, and that is the romance novel. That's right, I'm talking Pride and Prejudice, baby.
Anyone who's a fan of the romance genre is going to be very familiar with the conventions and obligatory scenes because they're very important for this particular genre. Conventions include things like a romantic relationship as the central focus of the story. There are often emotional and passionate interactions between the main characters, that's why we read them after all, and a focus on love, desire, and emotional connection. But that can break down into 3 separate threads, such as an obsession story, a courtship story, or a marriage story. Obligatory scenes of the romance genre include the initial meeting of the romantic leads, sometimes called a meet-cute, some initial conflict or tension that keeps them apart, the development of their relationship, often including a minor crisis or even a major setback that threatens their bond, and ultimately a resolution that brings them together, aka the happily ever after.
I wanted it to be you. I wanted it to be you so badly.
Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me.
The stakes in these novels are love and intimacy versus disconnection. A genre that a lot of people aren't super familiar with is the society novel. That means your Edith Wharton novels, or more recently, I've been reading the book Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, which is a modern retelling of David Copperfield from the original society novelist Charles Dickens.
Conventions of the society novel include exploration of societal issues, cultural and social conflicts, and often the examination of relationships and dynamics within a specific community or group. While there aren't necessarily obligatory scenes for the society novel, there's going to be some introduction of the context in which the story takes place, exploration of the conflicts or tensions within the community, and there are often moments that show character development through various relationships and interactions, often including a crisis or a turning point that forces the characters to confront the societal issue and achieve a resolution that may involve some level of either personal growth or social change.
The stakes in society novels are belonging and esteem versus alienation and abandonment.
I don't know what to think, Marlon. Maybe I'm losing my mind, but it feels like the whole world revolves around me somehow.
It's a lot of world for one man, Truman. Sure that's not wishful thinking? You wishing you'd made something more out of yourself? Come on, Truman. Who hasn't sat in the John, had an imaginary interview on Sea Haven tonight? Who hasn't wanted to be somebody?
This is different. Everybody seems to be in on it.
One of my personal favorite genres is the Western genre.
While it's not always the case that Westerns are set in the American Old West, their conventions often include things like cowboys, frontier life, rugged landscapes, and themes of exploration, independence, and the clash of civilizations. Obligatory scenes in a Western novel include establishing the setting and, most importantly, the atmosphere, the introduction of the either cowboy or sort of frontier characters. There's often conflicts with either outlaws or sometimes native peoples, showdowns or gunfights, and a resolution that often reflects the triumph of the protagonist's values or ideals.
The stakes in this novel are about the individual versus society, rebellion and conformity.
Pencil neck, son of a bitch.
Mr. Dogburn?
What is it?
I'd like to talk to you a minute.
What is it?
They tell me you're a man with true grit.
What do you want, girl? Speak up at supper time.
Let me do that. Your makings are too dry. I'm looking for the man who shot and killed my father, Frank Ross, in front of the Monarch boarding house. The man's name is Tom Cheney. They say he's over in Indian Territory, and I need somebody to go after him.
Western novels don't need to take place in the Old West. In fact, the novel I'm currently writing is a novel set in the 1500s in Spain and Mexico, and it's technically a Western, although it is also historical fiction. Within the genre of the fantasy novel, you can have high fantasy, which creates whole worlds, or low fantasy, where it's a realistic portrayal of the world with some fantastical elements.
Fantasy novels are all about the convention of magical or supernatural elements, often including things like mythical creatures, epic quests, and imaginative world building. The obligatory scenes of fantasy novels have to include the introduction of the fantastical world and the setting of its rules, a hero's journey or quest, various encounters with mythical beings or magical creatures, a confrontation with a major antagonist or threat, and a resolution that often involves a personal transformation or realization.
13 months to the day since Gandalf sent us on our long journey. we found ourselves looking upon a familiar sight. We were home.
Like one of the most popular fantasy series of all time, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, these novels often have to do with morality and epic quests. A type of novel that some might not consider to be in its own genre is the crime novel. The reason for this is that crime novels are often blended with other genre types, for example, action stories like Die Hard. Or they can be part of the narrative of a thriller or mystery novel.
Crime novels are often blended into other genres, but their conventions involve things like criminal activities, investigations, law enforcement, or detective protagonists, which is why we often see them in thriller/mystery categories as well, and a specific focus on unraveling a mystery or solving a crime. The obligatory scenes include the introduction of a crime or criminal activity, the investigation or collection of evidence, interviews with suspects or witnesses, various plot twists and revelations, and the resolution that often involves the identification and apprehension of the culprits. Although I have to admit, my favorite ones are when the bad guys get away with it.
Do you know who I am? I'm Mo Green. I made my bones when you were going out with cheerleaders.
Wait a minute, Mo. Mo, I get an idea. Tom, you're the consigliere, and you can talk to the Don, you can explain...
Just a minute. Don is semi-retired, and Mike is in charge of the family business now. If you have anything to say it to Michael.
Mike, you don't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that!
Fredo, you're my older brother, and I love you. But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.
Another popular genre is science fiction.
Science fiction conventions include speculative or futuristic elements, which is why science fiction is sometimes referred to as speculative fiction. They often include advanced technology, imaginative settings, and they most definitely include some exploration of scientific or technological concepts. That's what makes them science fiction. Obligatory scenes in science fiction include some world building to establish either the futuristic or technologically advanced setting, the introduction of key scientific or technological concepts, and then the exploration of societal impact of these concepts. And usually there's some kind of conflict or challenge that's unique to this futuristic world, and the resolution that often reflects on the larger implications of the technology or the concepts included in the story.
I'm sorry, who are you?
This is Rich Purnell, Astrodynamics. Tell him what you just told me.
I can get the Hermes back to Mars by Sol 561.
How?
Could you stand right there for me, please? Thanks. Right there, great. And could you stand right there? Right there. Okay, let's pretend that this stapler is the Hermes, and you are... I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Teddy. I'm the director of NASA.
Cool, Teddy, you're Earth. And right now, the Hermes is headed towards you, starting its month-long deceleration to intercept. But instead, what I'm proposing is... we start accelerating immediately. To preserve velocity and gain even more. We don't intercept with Earth at all, but we come close enough to get a gravity assist and adjust course. While we're doing that, we resupply with the probe, the Taiyang Shen, pick up whatever provisions we need, and now we're accelerating towards Mars.
The stakes in science fiction are often about progress versus destructive forces, including destruction of the environment. Just because something is in a particular genre doesn't mean it has to look like what you expect. The important thing to remember is it's more about the values at stake. So when it comes to genre, explore the possibilities, understand the conventions and the obligatory moments and the values at stake, and choose one that aligns with your story's heart and soul. Thanks for watching.